Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 26th Goffstown Board of Selectmen's meeting. First up, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is acceptance and correction of minutes from 1916.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes for the 9/19/16 public minutes with corrections.
I think they were non-public too. I didn't put that in there. I think there was one sheet at the end.
And non-public as well.
Sorry.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody got anything on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Abstain.
You weren't here, Collis? Nope. So you got 410?
401.
Yeah, 401. Gonna wait on that, we're gonna wait on that. We're gonna go right into, there are no announcements. Anybody got anything they need to announce? No?
They still paving on 114?
Yeah, night paving on 114 is still going on
There's 2 accidents there too, but in Bedford.
in Bedford. Yeah.
I have one on the power line clearing.
Okay, go ahead.
The town received a notice today from Eversource that a transmission line that's technically known as Q171 will have some work on it during the month of October. This is a power line that extends from the town boundary near Montalona Road and extends in a more or less straight line all the way down to the substation at Glen Lake. And the work activity involves some structural hardware changing and clearing of brush and trees. Residents along that power line corridor are supposed to receive notices from Eversource.
Thank you, Dave. Sue, let's go right into town administrators.
Okay. Your selectmen meeting schedule is late this week on September 28th, 7 o'clock. This Conservation Commission.
Got it.
Consensus folder tonight includes employee status reports for dispatcher, an educational stipend, and a resignation of dispatcher. Charter for the Economic Development Planning Ad Hoc Committee. That was voted on last week, but we need signatures. Permission for snowmobile access by the Uncanonic Mountaineers for the general maintenance of the trail. And New Hampshire Emergency Notification System authorized user form update.
Motion to accept the consensus?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, unanimous.
For correspondence tonight, you have a letter from the Goffstown Rail Trail President Warren Denby thanking the Board of Selectmen for accepting their donation and showing before and after pictures of the improved section under the power lines after the Shell station. I see Mr. Denby's here. I don't know if he has anything to add to that. Nothing. Okay. And we also have an email from Audra Reed of Manchester requesting a proclamation for World Pancreatic Cancer Day on November 17th.
I need a motion.
Can I,
Go ahead, Collis.
about the proclamation? It's a noble cause. I get it. I think it's great. I think it's great that people are aware of the fact that there's this need to make people aware of pancreatic cancer. There's already a National Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day. It's already on the calendar. It's already in the books. I have a problem with us issuing proclamations for every
Every
person that comes before us wanting a proclamation. And again, I don't mean to sound cold because I'm not, but there's already, I think, adequate recognition on a national level. I don't know why we as a community need to make a proclamation for this one particular event.
Yeah, typically we handle just local
Right.
type requests for Eagle Scouts or contributions locally.
Yeah, and again, it's not like there's no, that this isn't out there, that people don't know about it, that it's already out there. I mean, why do we need to make a proclamation here in the town of Goffstown?
I suggest just this discussion itself is enough of a notice that this week is an
Exactly.
event going
People
on.
can watch it, they're
tend to agree
now
with
made
Lois.
aware of it, and
I will let her know that we've made people aware of it through GTV. How's that?
appreciate that.
All right.
Sounds good. Okay, we still need a motion on the rail trail.
That's just,
Nope,
No, we don't?
no,
Okay.
we're all set with that.
Go ahead, next.
It was an
Sue.
FYI. Technology Conference. The IT Director requests authorization to attend a 3-day technology conference in December in lieu of the annual GIS conference because of scheduling conflicts. A description of the conference was included in his memo of 9/15, and his employee development budget will cover the cost of $2,250 for this conference and the travel and the room.
Sue, was this budgeted?
Yes.
That this particular item was budgeted?
Yes, well, he budgeted GIS, but he can't go to that one, so this is typically, if he can't go to the GIS one, he goes to the technology one. I don't know who's buzzing.
Me.
Oh.
I don't know how to stop it from buzzing.
Go get it, Collis.
I got it on silent, but it still buzzes, I don't know.
So motion's needed because it is out of state and overnight.
I'll make a motion, we allow the IT director to go to the technology conference for the sum of $2,250.
second.
And that's in his budget, already budgeted.
Right. And what was the GIS budgeted for? Do you remember?
About the same thing.
About seven.
Yeah,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none?
thank you. And tab 70 needs to be adjusted slightly. This was sent to me last Monday, but it was too late to get in the packets. This is the RFP for the septic system design at Grassmere Town Hall. We got to move out all the dates 1 week to give them enough time to respond. Were there any questions on the RFP and the legal notice?
So this is merely a motion to authorize the release of the RFP?
Yeah, to move forward with the amended
I'll
dates.
make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none?
Thank you. The town's received a request from the governor, state, and federal agencies, the New Hampshire Drought Management Team, to adopt ordinances banning outdoor residential lawn watering and to promote water conservation in their communities. State law grants local governing bodies the authority to restrict the watering of lawns with proper notice under RSA 4111D, which is enclosed. Also encloses a copy of ordinance adopted by the towns of Londonderry and Rochester. I did reach out to, as you know, we have 3 water districts in town, Goffstown, Grassmere, and Manchester Water. I heard back from Goffstown Village Water today, and they have no shortage issues. The wells are at the normal levels that they usually are at this time of year. They've checked their flow, and everything seems to be back to normal, and this time of year, they don't expect a lot of lawn watering anyway. So they do not have any bans in effect. Grassmere responded that they've had an ongoing ban on all summer, in the morning, early morning, 5:30 to 7:30 or something, and then in the evening from 5 to 7:30. So that's been ongoing, and it's voluntary. So they didn't see any need to go to any kind of mandatory ban.
What's Manchester doing?
Manchester's taking it to their mayor and board of aldermen. I saw that in today's paper, but they haven't responded to my email.
So would it be prudent to say, recommend to our constituents or to our people in town of Goffstown to follow the recommendations of their
Water
individual
precincts?
water precincts?
Yeah, and the only ones that leaves out are all the people on private wells, and
The
we can
private
just,
wells.
I'm sure they're being cautious because they don't want to dig a new well or have it filled, right?
Yeah.
Call us, go ahead.
Part of this looks like they're asking us to adopt a regulation.
Yes, they
I'm
are.
not so sure I want to go that far at this point.
That's what I say, just make a recommendation, you follow the,
Folks are watching, we can tell them, use water wisely, and
yeah. Not much we can,
And there's a lot in the newspaper, so it's,
A question, if we were to discuss this ordinance, it has a paragraph concerning enforcement.
yeah.
I question, how we would enforce something that's water being provided by another governing board of this town. What, do we have,
Seem to think that
Right to do
RSA
that.
gives us that authority, and some towns have tasked their police force in doing that. I don't know if we want to use that resource to do that.
okay, thank
I
you.
think we should. More taxing on the police department and other people.
I think just to put the word out to be
Be cautious.
conservative when possible and follow the increase in rules. I mean, I don't know.
Voluntary conservation measures then?
Yeah, that's what I mean, by the time you put an ordinance in, you go through all that procedure, there'll be snow on the ground.
Maybe Chief Brown has, looking for work to do. He would.
No, he's good.
Peter,
Paul's
I'd
go
also like to make folks aware, if they watch on TV, just because you have a private well, doesn't mean this issue doesn't apply to you, because we all draw from the same aquifer.
That's
You
right.
and all of your neighbors are drawing from the same water source, so just because you're on a private well, doesn't mean that, you're not affected, or nor are you affecting your
Others,
neighbors,
yeah.
so.
True.
So you're asking for a motion. I think the motion is to not proceed with this. Is that what you'd be looking for?
I think that'd be right.
Or-
I think I have a consensus to just ask people to
so you're not-
voluntarily
You're not
conserve.
requiring a motion.
Nope, only if you were going to go in the other direction.
Okay. Well, it's 10 past, so we have
Okay.
anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, go ahead and continue on, sir.
Okay, this is my last item. Groundbreaking ceremony for the fire station on Church Street. Can we do that just before the next Monday night's meeting? Like a half hour before?
Sure. I mean, I can-
Photo opportunities, and they'll have the shovels there, and
This Monday is not the holiday.
October 3rd. No, it's not the holiday. Following weekend is the holiday. Is everyone available?
Everybody's good for that?
5:30 at the fire station? Thank you. That's it for me.
Why don't we take Eric? Are you waiting
Next
for anybody
page.
else?
Anybody else coming in there?
Page.
Why don't you come on
Yes,
up then?
selectmen discussion later.
Your name and what you're here for?
For the record, Eric Strand with Goffstown Junior Baseball. I'm currently the vice president of the league, also the free of service engineer / attorney, I guess, acting for this project. So we've recently met. First of all, thank you for having us. Thank you for taking this up at a previous meeting and kind of greasing the skids, if you will. I appreciate that. What we're searching for today is we are trying to get through a dilemma that we've had for about 2 years now, in that when the Villa Augustina School went out of business, we lost our parking lot in the transaction with the property owners. We're in the final stages of purchasing the property, and Goffstown Junior Baseball will then own the property known as Map 5, Lot 62. The only problem that we have is that we do not have parking. So we've come up with a proposal that we've gotten approved conceptually through the planning board, which is to build a parking lot on the easternmost side of our parcel, or adjacent to what we know as M&M Field, or Majors and Minor Field, underneath the power lines. In your attached graphic, there's a figure called easement figure. The problem that, and the reason why I'm here tonight, is that in creating a parking lot there, we are landlocked and cannot create a drive access without an easement from the town. We've gone through and we've gotten verbal and written authorization from Eversource, formerly PSNH, to give us an easement to access the parcel and also to construct underneath their parcel. Due to their legal constraints, they cannot enter into a joint use agreement until such time that we own the property, but they have given us written confirmation that they will do such. So the last piece that we need to, for all intents and purposes, to make this a reality, is to get an easement from the town to construct a driveway for means of access and egress and ingress from our proposed parking lot, which you see in the attached figure. I've also provided draft language for the easement based on a previous easement that you guys have used in the town for a quick claim. Thank you for providing that. I appreciate that. That really helped us tremendously. It's currently being looked at by our legal attorney, Craighead. She got back minor comments, none of which were imperative to this whatsoever, and actually I'd already made the changes based on David's comments. So I think we're in good shape. It's just a matter of discussion and what questions you may have.
Hollis, go ahead.
Just a clarification, the planning board didn't consider conceptually, they actually approved it with some conditions subsequent and some conditions
Correct.
precedent. So
That
it
is a
has
true
been
statement.
approved.
That is a true statement. Thank you.
Yes, and their notice of decision you have in your packet, the tab 4.
And has our attorney looked at it yet? Or is there-
No, I don't know if this was based on a template that our town attorney had written for another easement in town, and they based it on that one. I mean, we can certainly have him review it, if you would like. We also have to have conservation weigh in according to state law. before we can proceed to the public hearing, we need Conservation to weigh in. They're meeting this week, right?
Yep, Wednesday.
Would you take that to them? Absolutely. Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Collis.
I have some points to be discussed, and I'd like to make reference to the deed, proposed easement deed. And I'm on page 2 of 5. After the paragraph number 4, on the second line, where it continues, others access to the proposed parking lot, I'm going to suggest that it would say others access through the grantor's land to the proposed ball field parking lot located on that map 562.
I'm sorry, you said, you are on page 4 or number
2.
4?
Page 2.
Page 2, number 4.
Down
Run
below
down the
number
paragraph
4.
already, so,
Well, it says map 5, lot 62, right above that.
yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Others access, right here.
Where it's-
So-
yeah.
Others
In-
Oh, okay.
My sentence, Eric, in 4 would read, "The purpose of this easement is to allow the grantee," that's the ball field, "its assessors, assigns, employees, agents, business invitees, attendants, and others, access through the grantor's land to the proposed ball field parking lot located on map 562 and located on 1947-5-1.
So you're adding through the grantor's land?
That, to me, is the purpose of this easement. It's granting an access over the grantor's land for a proposed parking lot located on 2 particular parcels. And that last bolded parcel is 5-1, not 5.
Isn't that what the intended, if you look down the intended scope of the easement, isn't that what that's saying, or is that just?
Well, the parking lot is on two different parcels. The parcel they're proposing to buy, that's 562, and 1947-5-1 is a parcel owned by Eversource.
Well, it's not, this is.
47-5.
Yes, the -1 was left off the -5.
So is it -5 and -1?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
47-5-1.
-1, that's what I'm saying.
Because that's our parcel, the town's parcel.
No, you're
Which one is ours?
47-5, and then the Eversource parcel is on 47-5-1.
-1 has nothing to do with us then.
We can't grant the right over 5-1.
But should we make reference to it then? It's the purpose is to propose access to the parking lot, which is located on 2 parcels. That's a statement of fact.
Right, but shouldn't we restrict ours to 5-1? Because that's the only one we have
We only have jurisdiction over 5-1.
jurisdiction over. The other one is owned by Eversource, 1947-5?
no.
Go ahead, Collis.
I think we could send this over to town council and have them review it, and let them make the,
Question that with the
Okay.
town council.
Okay,
Other than that, go ahead, David.
point number 2, page 3, under benefits and burdens. Second line where it says that the proposed access easement shall continue to be used as an access to municipal facilities located on 1947-5. Well, 1947-5 is the rail corridor parcel. And I don't see where this driveway is providing continued access
Leftover.
to the trail. That phrase should be removed. The driveway does not facilitate access to the trail.
But people could park there, right, and go on the trail?
No one should be parking in the access area, right?
That's, I'm going to cover that at another point in a moment. So, you got,
If I may, what it probably should say is, acknowledges the fact that the proposed access easement are currently and shall be used to as an access to the proposed parking lot on map 5, lot 62.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll tweak that language.
Okay.
in the next paragraph, the very last sentence, says that this proposed easement shall be assignable to all future owners of the condominium units. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
condominium units should be deleted. But I question the basic premise that this easement will ride with the land forever. So I'm thinking 50 years ahead. What if this property is sold to who knows whom? Is this easement going to continue
Yes.
going with the property?
Yes, easements do.
Or should the easement have some sort of a sunset clause recommended by the town attorney? If the,
Typically, easements don't. Typically, easements stay with the property. If it was going to be something that would just stay with the current owners, it would be a license, a revocable license. But I think they would have trouble probably financing with just a license and not an easement.
I just wanted, I agree
You would.
that that is suitable, but it should have been, I wanted it part of this evening's discussion in the minutes, that we intend for this easement to be forever with the land.
Yeah, I think it is. I've never seen an easement that's not, and I can always check with the town attorney, but I think it stays with the land.
Why not give it up any more in the driveway? I mean, I don't know
Right.
what the big deal is all about here, just let them use it.
My last comment on the handouts provided by Goffstown Junior Baseball is on the plan, Eric.
Yep.
You have a label for 1947-5-1.
Yep.
That should be moved towards the bottom, just into its correct parcel.
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't move. I did move that in the graphic before I sent it. I must have PDF'd it before I saved it, so I do apologize for that. But yes, I do acknowledge that.
And finally, I'll draw your attention to the notes that are on the plan. Could you, Eric, explain to me note 1?
Effectively, as part of the review from New Hampshire DOT for the driveway, Scott Looney from New Hampshire DOT has requested that the existing gravel access road adjacent to what is now the rail trail crossing be removed and established turf. And then they also want no parking signs there so that there's no means of access,
A single point of entry.
just
to
a
the curb.
single point of entry using our proposed parking lot driveway.
So, so the berm that's next to the side of the road is going to be extended and loamed and seeded.
And then on the opposite side of the proposed driveway, on the western side of the proposed driveway, because of line of sight issues, they want us to actually remove a portion of that berm that's been constructed there and the boulders, because you can't see enough down looking westerly towards Mass Road.
So, thank you for that clarification, but staying on note number 1, you mentioned that there'll be loam and seeding at the edge of Mass Road. That brings up the issue about what's going to happen to the remainder of all that barren gravel area.
Wouldn't that be a planning board issue with their land? Planning board takes care of landscape.
There's perhaps 2 situations in my mind, Mr. Chair. One is, we are providing an easement to an entity, and under many situations, that entity would have a responsibility for something to be returned. And that something to be returned could be loam and seeding of what we see as just barren gravel area, and that would discourage future use of that as parking. Or perhaps if this board would like to show compassion for the municipal use of the ball field, perhaps we could charge Public Works to do loam and seeding. It comes down to the appearance of that whole area, and this is an opportunity to make the area appear good.
And also to avoid anyone continuing to use it as a parking area.
Yes. So that's, I rest my case.
As a point of clarification to the planning board, we did use that as an overflow for opening day type events or emergency circumstances. I know that a lot of people that use the rail trail also use that location. The intent, from what we understood, was to leave it as it is, a gravel parking lot for people who who are using the two entities, because it's always kind of been used that way.
So how would they access it if you're
through
blocking
the
off the old
driveway.
access?
Off
Through
of
the
our-
new access?
We're off of our driveway.
I would have to check the planning board notes, Mr. Chair, but I believe the planning board said that there should be no exit from the driveway to the left or right.
Well,
No exit, they're just
there
gonna
isn't.
come
They're
out.
just going to come off that new driveway,
Yes, that,
is what he's saying.
there should be no possibility of people driving off the driveway into that
Oh,
left or right.
You know, I think
That's
we're talking
actually
about-
incorrect.
We're talking about planning board issues here. I mean, we need to stick to the easement, I think, whether or
I
not.
agree.
As a point of clarification, it's actually incorrect. We actually used it as an existing parking lot for access purposes because we were pushing the envelope of what we had for available parking spaces, much like the rail trail did when they permitted their access road there, or all their stuff in that location. So it was intended to stay as it is, a gravel parking lot, and that there would be access from one point of entry, which would be further away from the now crossing for the pedestrians for the rail trail. That
I
was the
would-
way that it was presented to the planning board.
I would disagree that the existing gravel area next to Mass Road should continue to be used for parking. If the baseball is building a lot sized to handle the capacity at the complex, then there should be no need for that area.
I think I'm gonna
Again,
go along with Collis
a
on
planning
this,
board
that's a
issue.
planning
Planning
board
board, leave
issue.
it be.
Planning board should take that up, and I think if,
But it is our land, so we're entitled to have that discussion.
uh, my feeling is that discussion should go back to the planning board if you have an issue with that. But as I can see it now, the planning board's gone through the process.
On 700, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was no discussion. If there was discussion, I didn't attend the meeting, I didn't watch the meeting. So, but I would assume that I'm gonna take his word for it and said it was discussed at the planning board and that was, information was relayed. Am I accurate?
As a point of clarification, it was discussed that it would be an existing parking lot and that it would remain. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. The planning board's taking it up.
The intent of it, just for, again, for clarification, the intent was to remove the access or the 2 points of entry in and out of the property because of the confusions that's caused with the rail trail crossing there now and the danger that could be construed from that. There has been some instances at that location. We're trying to
I
clarify
agree with
that.
Eric's last comments. I'm aware of the highway permit, person who examined the the driveway cut. He saw vehicles exiting on the Mass Road through the driveway we mentioned, and it was his recommendation that be closed.
It's a confusing intersection. I think this will simplify it and make it a better process.
But again, our issue is very simple and very straightforward. Should we grant an easement to Goffstown Junior Baseball across town property for their benefit?
right. And I do notice that Conservation did comment at the planning board meeting, so do we still need
We
another?
need a motion for that?
Conservation did comment at the planning board meeting, they had no concerns, but recommends adequate drainage system to be in place so drainage doesn't sheet across the rail trail. And that was at the June 22nd meeting, so do we still need a recommendation from them? Or can
I'd
we
run it
accept
by 'em
that?
again.
Yeah, okay,
We're gonna be there, it's this week, it's not gonna hold anything up, we'll
That's
just run it
true.
by.
okay.
Their decisions are-
So we don't need a motion or anything,
If I
correct?
could continue the one last point here, I just noticed. If boundary markers, which were paid to be installed by the town, are destroyed in the process of this construction, is that agreeable by this board? Or should they somehow be replaced?
Well, we have to go through that public hearing process, and typically when we allow any kind of easements over town property, that it's returned to the condition it was, and the applicant knows that if the bound got disturbed, it would be replaced.
That's correct. Goffstown Junior Baseball would repair anything that was disturbed or replace it in kind.
Thank you.
Anything else? Need a motion?
Motion to
Go
grant,
forward.
go forward with the easement?
The
On town
public
property?
hearings?
Public, yes.
Yeah,
Collis,
second
go
it. Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, passes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sewer budget. Budget's in front of you, book.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Good evening.
Your name, just for the record, Tim.
For the record, Tim Redmond, Sewer Commissioner.
Thank you.
Everybody have paperwork on the sewer budget?
Yep.
locate you again. That's supposed to be.
Okay, well, what would you prefer, Mr. Chairman, to overall, line by line, how would you like to address this?
I would just say, Tim, I'd start with an overall, and if anybody has any questions, we could ask. We have you line by line, so we can scan it.
Overall, the budget was requested by sewer department employees and staff to be increased. We are still working on the requested increases on the sewer department budget. We are also showing a line, second line from the very bottom of the 2017 budget. It's a sewer CIP line. Everybody see that one? It's for $651,936. I'm on this page right here.
Oh,
Not that much.
I'm sorry, Tim, what was
Yeah.
that number? 264, 139?
It's
651.
$651,936. This is part of what we're discussing at this point, because we've made an attempt to mirror our sewer repairs with the road reconstruction plan, so that we can work in conjunction with the highway department to minimize the impact on people and to look at savings for cost sharing for the paving. So we're not exactly sure where the road plan is going to go in the upcoming budget season, whether it's going to remain fully funded or whether it's going to get changed at any time. So at this point, we have a number in there at $651,000 to try to mirror the road reconstruction.
So
Schedule.
the big budget item next year for DPW is Main Street from Church over by the cemetery all the way through Mountain Road. Is that
And-
included in this?
Based on what Mike Yurgo and Mike Walton have told us, that's actually not such a big deal, because most of the sewer work in the village area is behind the buildings. It's not actually in Main Street. It's behind the buildings. So we're not looking at a big impact on that. But, Mike, at my suggesting, because I am on CIP, the Sewer Commission put forth a 5-year plan for rehabilitation. It's in the CIP this year. It hasn't really showed up in the past years that I can remember. Jim Bouchard used to give us some numbers at CIP, and we didn't get the numbers annually that we thought that we should be showing, because as commissioners, we're collecting revenue from sewer users. I think it's our obligation to show the users where the money is going. We don't want to have a sewer fund that has money in it and not show that we're doing something with it. We're not just collecting money to save it. So, with that stated, we're going to be looking at the budget again once the road plan is determined as to what roads are going to be. I guess Pinardville is part of the next year's plan, and there's a lot of sewer work that could happen in Pinardville, as I understand it. Am I correct in that? We're moving into Pinardville area next year in the road plan in 17?
I thought we were
No,
concentrating
17 is
on-
strictly Main Street,
Okay, well then maybe it's into the year 2000.
Yeah, Main Street, pretty much.
unless it got, no, it'd be,
I think Main Street was the big ticket item
yeah,
next
Main
year.
Street's the,
But Mr. Redmond was talking about road construction in 18, therefore he has to do sewer work in 17.
Our CIP request has to come in 17. In the year
if you're
two.
gonna do it when the town opens the road up, they're not gonna open the road till 8.
18, right.
But you see, you have to put the request in a year ahead of time. I can't request money in 18 once the year is already
Or
started.
18.
I
Right,
have to
but
request it in
No, you
17
would
for the year 18, is what I'm saying.
No, you would request it for the year 18, next year, it's set there in 17, wouldn't you?
I think we're getting the difference between CIP and budget.
Yeah.
Budget, you're right. You budget in the year that you open the road, which would be 2018. But Tim's saying he needs to submit a cost in 2017 for
right.
2017.
And that's where the money is reflected in our 2017 budget, and it's a request.
That's at 651 or 6, whatever it was. yeah.
And this number has to change because
Should be.
we're,
It should be for the following year, though, the request, right?
Yeah.
He's going to put the request in 2007, but it's for 2018.
well,
Should
maybe
be
maybe
this
we
year.
have the number in the wrong year then, so let
That's
us
what I think.
review it,
That's
make
what
sure
it
we've
sounds
done it
like.
correctly. David sat at the meeting, I believe, recently, and if I'm not mistaken, Dave, this is how was presented to us by staff.
I understood it, that you were doing sewer reconstruction the year before the town would be doing their work, and that's why I thought this was in
Okay.
17.
I guess I'm.
Then they wouldn't realize the savings on paving. That's why they do it the same year we do the road.
You
Doesn't-
you wouldn't leave the road open over the winter.
We would do patch paving, you know.
It wouldn't be the
Uh,
full repaving.
We are, and we also recognize that we only collect a certain amount of money annually in sewer fees, and we don't want to dip into the reserves to continue a budget that's more than we should be spending. Otherwise, we'll deplete our reserves, and that's, apparently that has happened in the past. So we're reviewing that and realizing that our total budget at over $2 million is not sustainable right now. We have to cut it back. And we are working on that. There was a few small items that were requested from Public Works. There was a line for VACCON maintenance. We had $17,000 in there, but that was carried forward from the year that they rehabilitated the VACCON body and didn't just do normal maintenance on it. Other than that, it's a fairly straightforward, carry-forward budget with changes that are required due to personnel's wages and retirement contributions and different parts of that budget. There was an overtime expense last year, which apparently was not in a budget line. It got put into a budget line this year for overtime expenses, overtime pay.
So Tim, just to clarify what you just said, the wages, I'm looking at sewer operations.
Mhm.
So sewer operations is on the, sewer operations, you're showing current year at $4,000 in overtime, and you boosted it up to 15,000?
I checked with finance, and there was $13,000 worth of overtime expense last year. I think there's some problems with how this is being put into these sheets by our administrative secretary, because I did check with finance today on that, because I had a question. I wanted a reason why the overtime expense was going up to $15,000, and they actually incurred $13,000 worth of overtime last year.
Because so far this year, and this is, this is through 9/26, so I'm going to assume this is through 8/31, Sue?
This one doesn't show year-to-date, Pete.
Yeah, well, that just shows me the budget, that's right. Can we get that? Is that possible? Kind of should be.
Yeah. I'm wondering why the format is different on that than the rest of the budget.
This is, I'm new to this year. There was some discussion at the commissioners' meeting over the munis budget forms that we received, that we didn't really,
Have the year-to-date on it
we
either?
didn't really have actuals that were up to date. We also didn't understand some of the way the things was recorded, and I believe that they went back to the format that they've been using in the past years, which takes the munis numbers and transfers them to their paper.
Anytime we get this, a changeover, there's always a little confusion the first year or so.
We realize that we have more work to do on the budget. We have until November, I believe it is, before we have to give it to the Budget Committee. Is that correct, Sue?
Yeah, we give it to them November 1st.
Right, so we have a little more. We have some other scheduled meetings to go over these numbers and work on them
Need
some
some
more.
clarification on the numbers. We need some clarification on the numbers, including a year-to-date column.
Yep,
You mean actuals?
Yeah.
the actuals, yeah. And we put those up online, so I'm looking there right now for 2016 actuals.
I don't see where IT was budgeted before. Is that a new line? Compute, oh, there it is, right there. That was budgeted this year, current year at 15,000. You got it 10,000. Previously, it was 54,000, so he must have,
I have an explanation on that as department support. Sometimes when IT department has to do things for the sewer department, we get billed for the time from the IT department. They're not planning on buying any new computers or anything like that this year, but And are we completely done with the conversion at this point, Sue, on the softwares? Or is there going to be
No.
more charges incurred to the sewer department for that? IT
They
fee?
hope to have, I think, the first billing next year out on Munis.
All right, so I didn't know if there was any other additional charges coming as a result of the software changes, and we are just trying to budget enough money to cover those things.
So I think we need to take another look at that. Get some
I can
more-
get the detail on that. Yeah, they have to keep the history in the old system for a while, so I think that's what Tim's referring to, the support and user license for the old system, so we have that history. Now, you wanted to know overtime under operations, and where the year-to-date, I only have the August one up here.
That would probably be
and-
the last full month anyway.
Yeah. Overtime pay. Well, it's budgeted for
4,000.
4,000 revised budget, and this is showing 878.26 spent.
That's in the book.
876?
Yeah,
That's the figure in our book.
So what's the expenditure currently?
$878 for overtime for this year. Oh, you're talking about 15 probably, what we spent for all of 15.
I'm getting this information from someone else. I didn't generate these numbers.
Let's just,
I can look at 15.
we should have that in here. Tab 8.
First page under tab 8.
Year-to-date, 831.
Yeah,
$878.
13,000 was in 15. They didn't budget anything but incurred $13,086 in overtime.
What was that number, Sue? I'm going to write it on my sheet.
13,000.
No, the actuals.
That's the actuals in 15. $13,086.
That's on my sheet expended, right.
Yeah, and in 16, you budgeted 4,000, and you've used $878.26.
There must have been something that happened in 15 to incur those kind of expenses. Was that Mass Road? No.
I say, was that the year we did the main line down Mass Road?
I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that was.
Glen
was that
Ridge,
15?
down in Glen Ridge, wasn't it?
I
It might have
don't
been
know.
early 15 if it was, it carried over, or it
Not sure.
doesn't seem, it seems
Wasn't it
like.
we had a little blasting last year?
Longer than that.
I think so, yeah, it was
Down in
for
Glen Ridge, down in the,
15.
they had rock breaking, they were there half the night, half the time breaking stuff.
We also have, and we get expenses from DPW when the operators of the VACCON or the DPW employees. So if they do get called out in emergency for a clog or anything, we have to cover their overtime costs as well, I'm certain. So I'm sure there's a valid reason for the request, but in my opinion, you're better off to have the money in the line and not use it than not have it and need it.
Right. So Sue, on the, just a note that they took in 18, I mean, in 2015, in 18, 2016, under administration, they budgeted benefits and nothing on operations. Now they've taken, and they did the same thing this year, so they're combining everybody under administration for benefits instead of operation, and they're using HIPAA as the excuse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what we
No.
were told.
Not as an excuse,
Well,
but
as a
as
reason.
reality. Yeah.
And I'm certain that it's a shared expense on the in benefits, correct, between the Public Works and the Sewer Department? We're not privy to those numbers. We can only have the wage numbers. We can, but the,
Well, you get a budget.
we get a
number,
lump
yeah.
sum for a combined package for all the employees.
That's right.
And then that lump sum is the only number we get.
Any questions?
Wait and see what the new one looks like.
Yeah, we'll get another look at it.
Yep.
when-
Yep. I know this was just a first run by, and
All right, Tim, thank
I
you very much.
apologize for not having all the answers, but
Thank you very
I
much.
think we got there. I think we got there,
Yeah.
most of them, yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
You got any questions, just see Sue. Nice guy. That will conclude tonight.
Concludes tonight's meeting, yeah. Whoops.
Approved, yeah.
Parks and Rec budget. Rick? Well, you're number B. You've got 10
Yeah,
minutes.
Larry,
Let's go.
I wanted to do a little show.
All right.
Okay, where's that you got the remote there? Okay. Yeah, I
Light,
saw it
lit up,
going.
look at
Yeah,
that.
it
They're on.
lit right up.
They go on?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
It's warming up. Oh, man. Budget, so I can look at it. Let's just go. Does he have a packet in here? Yep.
He does.
Is this going to correspond with your packet at all, Rick, or?
Oh, you can open it up.
Oh, thanks. You didn't really answer my question,
I'll
but.
talk about the packet afterwards. What's going on?
Awful lot increase in here.
You see okay, David?
Yes.
Too close.
All right, what do I do? I gotta put in a password. Where
Yeah.
do I do that?
Password's right on the
I
computer.
know it's right there,
Okay.
but do you just type it in?
How did you get there?
I don't know.
Hit escape. Eric's our tech person. Come on up, Eric.
Didn't you come down and practice this at all first?
No.
Great.
There we go. I got it. I figured it out. Give me time. There you go. Now, I just want to show some updated pictures that we have, so. All right. Now, how do I get the file? Still thinking. Maybe I should have Rob go first, huh? He would have been in and out by now.
Yeah, but then you would have been cut off early.
Where is it? On your thumb drive? or-
Yeah. How the heck do you get that?
Okay, go to the Windows
File,
thing.
no, go down the file.
Folder.
Go down to the file folder, down here.
Left.
Left.
Over there, right, yep.
See that folder? Keep going, right there.
Nice.
There you go.
So it's on my thumb drive.
C, F.
F.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Looks familiar.
Yeah.
Preferably we go to 2000, there we go.
Yeah, relax.
I don't wanna go back to
A lot of peanut
2015.
gallery people around here.
We see how he organizes his thoughts.
You know, ADHD, you know. You gotta give a guy a little break.
Give him credit, he hit the screen on, I couldn't do that.
Oh, what the hell's it doing now? Oh, excuse me.
Let's
what's it
go
doing?
okay.
Push okay, yeah.
Here, but okay, here, but.
Hit the little X up there.
Go away. All right. Here we go.
Over that hump, huh?
Bottom line, what I just wanted to say, I mean, in Parks and Recreation, we've done an awful lot. And I want to show these pictures because I think the pictures really do depict what we have been doing and what we need to do in the future. I mean, this past year, we did the whole playground. There was 7 brand-new elements. We redid the bathroom at the pavilion at Roy Park. We put in new walkways to the pool and the pavilion. We painted the underside, the structure supports of the Roy Park Pavilion, and we removed a ton of trees. Oh, how do I go back? Shit. Back, how do you go back? Anyhow, I'm all nerved up. Let me fly through this, and I'm gonna start all over. So you gotta deal with it. Anyhow, okay, so you got this picture here. We put in the playground, all right? I mean, this is a huge, huge feature to Roy Park. And this one apparatus right there is for the ages 5+. In the back, you got a little rocker cross thing, and then you got a little whirly on the back side of that. And then we came down, we also have one for ages 4 and under. On the right side, little climbing tubes. And we have our little, our swing set with a handicap accessibility swing in there. And not completed, we're still waiting for the pavement, because we're gonna actually have a paved roadway going up to the parking lot up there, and that'll be handicap accessible only going up there. We'll have a sign there that says that as well. We're waiting for Rosemont Street to be paved. When Rosemont gets paved, then that will get paved. This is seeing a lot of use. Tons of people are out there using it every day.
What's the grade there?
What's that?
What's the grade?
I don't know.
Not too bad. 8-10%.
Yeah, well, they close to that.
The bathrooms, look at that bathroom on the left-hand side. That was the pavilion. And we cut a hole in the wall, it was all sealed up. So we opened up the 2 bathrooms, we have a male and a female bathroom. And that was done in the spring. Put in new walkways, new pavement going up to the pavilion and the pool. Now you actually really have handicap access to the pool. Prior, you had to go down a huge hill to get down, so now you have a true handicap accessibility to that pool. This one here is amazing to me. I mean, look at, on that bottom picture there, all the trees that surrounded that pavilion. It was at a point where you could not even see anybody in that area. And for our police driving through, now they can see right in there. They come up, they have full visibility. The pavilion itself actually gets sun, so it'll protect the roof when we change the roof around. And then you can see over here too, we got rid of the mound. There used to be a big mound over here. So now
10 feet high.
So now when you drive up, you got access immediately to seeing what's going on in the pool area too. So that's huge. And then we painted all the rafters underneath, have a fresh coat of paint on them. And all these rafters right there, we put those in. That was recommended for the strengthening the roof and giving it more stability. This year we ended up painting and getting all that done there. Proposed next year to put on metal roofs. We have the Roy Pavilion on the left and the Barnard Pavilion on the right. Both of those roofs are in bad shape, probably the original shakes, or not the original, but they're in bad shape, so we're going to propose putting on a metal roof, which you'll see in my proposed budget for next year. And then in our CIP request is to basically improve the bathroom pool house facility. This is Roy Park's bathroom. On the left-hand corner, that's the hallway walking down to 2 bathrooms. And then I just took a picture of the toilet. The other one's the same. You have 2 toilets to service that entire volume of people at that facility. That is also the changing area for that facility. You have no other place to change. And then down below is the exterior of the backside of that building. So, and over at our Barnard Pool, it's a much larger area. The building itself is larger, so you can have 2 full bathrooms and changing facilities within that area. This is lacking that. So that's pretty much my slideshow presentation, okay? Thanks for entertaining. Any questions with that? Okay, you can turn the lights back on. So as I said, we've gotten an awful lot done, and in the Parks and Rec world, facility improvement has been coming along a long way.
You kill that, Rick?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Felt like you're back at town meeting?
You getting blinded?
Blinded by...
I don't know if it'll,
Don't give it a day job.
did that go off, Sue?
Nope.
Not yet.
Ooh.
Hold it down for a minute.
2017 budget,
Press the power button to turn off projector.
Hit it twice.
there's twice.
Pull the plug.
Go ahead, Eric.
Come on, Eric.
Rob, you don't have to use this, do you? Okay, thanks.
Because we're gonna make him stay if you do.
It worked, it turned it on. Anyhow. You keep
Eric,
doing
come over,
that.
come over this side, it's usually better off over
Yeah,
here.
gotta get a little closer to it. It has fits.
I can climb over the table in a minute, and I'll just turn it on. Anyhow.
Done that before.
I know I have.
Oh my God.
Anyhow, in the Parks and Rec budget, basically the biggest, for 2017, it's an overall increase of a $15,000 increase to the budget. A lot of it is in your employee cost area, your benefits, in that ballpark. There is- There is an increase in the part-time wage line. Last year, we increased our part-time wage line to be more applicable to our surrounding communities. And this year, for the 2017 budget, we basically took the number, we have 21 seasonal employees, and if all 21 of them were to return, and based on kind of a matrix, that increase would be the 24,480.
Rick's going to get it.
Cover me, I'm going in. Press the power button, it says.
I'm pressing the power button right there.
There you go, bingo.
You got it.
It's all on TV.
It's all on TV, yeah.
Got your best side anyways.
Yeah. I'm mobile.
That boy calls.
So I think that kind of explains the increase in the part-time wage line. The only other real increase in this budget is coming in the park operation line. And as you saw in the slideshow, that increase, it's about $7,400 for that one line. That's the cost of the metal roofing and fascia for the two pavilions. Each pavilion is about $3,700 for material cost only. And that's what we're budgeting, is just material costs, because we will install it ourselves. We'll do that side of it.
Rick,
do the
that's
metal
the,
roofing.
that's the line, it's going from 22,000 something to 29,000 something?
Exactly. 64,100 park operation line.
Currently
doesn't
budgeted
negate-
at 22,438, it's going to 29,859.
Correct.
That doesn't negate the warranty if we do it, does it?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
If you want to pay for a warranty, then we'll put more money in, but I think it's a pretty good deal. So I think, those are the only two lines. The only other line that's going to increase is your program line, and that is just mainly the cost of product that's going up here and there between our basketball programs, lacrosse programs, summer camp programs. Little bit of fee increases in each one of those kind of adds up to the $1,800 increase. And those are your only real increases. That's all I really got. I think we're doing pretty darn good. Programmatically, we're doing really well. Our lacrosse programs, basketball programs, summer camp program are all really strong, running well. Any questions?
So the Parks and Rec budget is at $15,148, right? Or
Yep, yes.
3.41%,
Yes.
which is below what the board had requested.
But,
Then our CIP,
CIP.
But,
that blows this budget right there, because, anyhow. Our CIP request for 2017 is for $30,000 for a field tractor, which we feel is very important and needed. As I've been saying the last 4 or 5 years, we've been using the school's John Deere tractor, and that tractor's getting tired. And I think it's time, we can't keep going to the neighbor and saying, hey, can we borrow your lawnmower? I think it's time to get our own. And then our other CIP request will be the bathrooms at Roy Park, and that is a $30,000 request, with $20,000 being asked from tax appropriation and $10,000 being used from the revolving fund. And as from those pictures, you can kind of see what the bathroom would be all about.
So your tax impact from CIP, or dollar impact, would be $51,000.
Yes, 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 yes.
Minus 10.
No, he already minus the 10.
You're asking, you're gross appropriating
just explained.
51,000, right?
He-
You're gross appropriating 51,000 for 2 items.
But that's not how we did it.
But you're using 10,000 from the revolving fund, correct?
Right.
So a net of
So it's-
41.
So it's gonna be 41,000, not 51. How much is it costing? you to do-
$30,000 is for the Roy Park bathroom.
No,
That's
it's
what
a,
That's what through
Oh,
CIP,
okay.
I remember this discussion.
okay.
He had showed it as 20,000 that needed to be raised by taxes. They were gonna use $10,000 from the revolving fund.
Right.
Let's check tab 7 then, see if it's in there for 30 or 20.
$31,000, which that's machinery and equipment.
It says right here, in this
Buildings.
document that I have, it says $30,000.
Facility repairs is 42,167 this year, nothing, wait a minute, that's the wrong one.
If you look, improvements other than building, you have, for 2017, 71,384, which is the total of the 3. So the sports complex is gross appropriated here, but if that's all
That's
coming,
impact fees.
if that's all coming from impact fees, then we can
That's what you did.
reduce that line by 41,384, because that's not subject to the Municipal Budget Act.
Okay.
So on page 24 or 28 in your budget books,
Yep.
you're going to minus 41,384, and we'll minus it from the revenue too, because it's probably in the revenue.
41,384, you said, Sue?
41,384.
41,384.
So the new figure will read 30,000.
30, yep.
1,000, right. And then he's got 31 under
31 is
machines.
on the tractor.
That's on that, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so it's $51,000.
yep.
Thanks.
hey, numbers is how you get there.
Whose tractor are you presently using then?
High schools.
High schools.
Thank you.
Yes, we are. So, did he show the 10,000 as a revenue?
That's where I'm going next. Revenue is under tab 9. Hard to tell because it's probably lumped into other things.
Yeah, you're gonna have to research that.
Yep. Parks and Rec's revenue, 51,384. Yep, so the
So
10
that's the 41.
and the 41.
Yep.
So we're going to reduce that, that's on page 7 of 10, under revenues?
You're gonna reduce that to 10,000.
Yep. No, we're going to reduce, we're taking out the 41,
So
384.
it'll be 10,000.
Yes, it will go to 10,000, yes, you're right. Saying the same thing, just different ways.
It's amazing how we all think.
I got it, yeah.
And then we're gonna figure those page numbers out.
Yes.
Will we get new updated sheets after, when that?
Yes, when you start your deliberations next meeting,
Yep.
you'll have revised sheets. And even when getting the late notice from Goffstown Village Water Precinct, you don't want to adjust your water lines?
No, I was explained that it's only gonna be about $150 difference,
Okay.
and I think we'll be okay. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think
ours was
this year
100, I think we're
We have
okay.
$8,900 allocated in the past 2 years.
You didn't spend it all, right?
Only one year we did, because it was $2,000 for the
Yeah,
town common water bill, anyhow. But
right.
we've been under,
But that was because it wasn't working right.
yes.
However, there are 2 departments that really will need to adjust there because it impacts them more. The fire department hydrant line is going to be impacted like 14,000 something, and the cemetery water line will be impacted by a couple thousand. But these $100 ones, we're just going to
Okay.
forget about those, just adjust those 2.
Anything else, Rick? Anybody
No.
got anything for Rick?
Oh,
Thank you very
guys.
much, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Rick, our next person up would be the police department.
You gonna run a show or what?
I can't believe you're letting him outdo you on a video. PowerPoint presentation.
is up about 30,000 as well. So some of the cost items that you'll see for increases in this budget are offset by revenue, and I'll try to pinpoint those the best I can. But one of the things that I like to try to do usually is to start off with the operations budget and then segue into the communications budget, because operations is bigger. Well, this year, I'm going to change it up a little bit and just kind of showcase the communications budget, because we've had the most drastic changes in the agency in that particular division this year. So, as you know, taking on the new contracts for Dumbarton and Ware and New Boston, which was a surprise to us, actually it was a greater workload than I think all of us had anticipated. And although our folks have been doing a fabulous job with it, I think that we've seen the idea that we weren't able to do it with the current amount of personnel that we had. I had gone to the board, as you know, and had requested a reorganization to have one of our records clerks transition that position over to dispatch. That gave us 9 dispatchers. This budget, you'll see, even though that there's a decrease in the overall budget, there is an additional full-time employee dispatcher in here. And I have whatever backup for information you'd need to be able to justify that. To do so. So anyways, although in the communications line, there were 11 lines that were, I'm sorry, although there were 10 lines with increases in the police operations budget, there were 16 lines with decreases. The remaining 33 lines were level funded. On the communications side, there were increases in 11 lines, which could be attributed to the request for personnel. The remaining 14 lines were either decreased or level funded. As I mentioned to you, I pointed out in my narrative that I was significantly wrong and underestimating the impact of the workload there. But going through for the communications budget line, you'll see the first line on the salary is a 16% increase in that salary line, and that equals out to $70,567. That covers all the costs of the current collecting bargaining agreement, which is still in effect through 2017. It covers, as I mentioned, overtime training, holiday pay, and that also includes that reorg position that was originally from the operations side. On the part-time wages spot, we haven't spent nearly that much. I think it was $18,000 that we had budgeted for this year. I mean, this is something that's completely being underspent each year, so I think that dropping it by a little more than 44% or an $8,000, very satisfied with that. One of the
Chief,
things.
is
Oh,
that-
hold on just a
Sorry,
second, you
yeah.
got me confused. You did the regular wages.
Correct.
We're on police operations, right?
No, police
No, communications, I'm
communications.
sorry,
Oh, okay,
communications,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Different page.
Page 4 is where I was starting with.
Okay.
Now, you haven't had any expenses to your part-time wage
Correct.
line this year. Is it because you don't have part-timers available, or?
Well, I do have folks that are full-time employees that can cover in there on a part-time basis, but I don't have any part-time employees currently within that particular role. It's kind of not cost prohibitive, it's simply a moot issue with the fact of our collective bargaining unit having a first right of refusal for full-time employees in there, so trying to recruit part-time personnel would be very, very difficult, knowing that they may never get any shifts at all. So that's something that hopefully, moving forward in the future, this would be something that would be a contractual issue that we could try to iron out so that we'd be able to use some of that availability for those positions. So overtime is a decrease by $5,000. This was rather aggressive, I thought, and the reason being is for a period of time from about April this year to most recently the beginning of September, we were at full staff, nine dispatchers in there, and as you probably know from the AP, the overtime expenditures in dispatch were very, very negligible. So when we're at full staff and we don't have injuries or other long-term leaves of absences, we were able to do a pretty good job with covering that particular division without any overtime. Giving an extra full-time employee in there, I'm comfortable with decreasing that line by $5,000. Clothing and uniforms, level funded in there. An increase of employee development by just $500 equals a 33.3% increase. And new employees, more training. That's simply how that all ends up working out. Currently, we are going to be short now for the rest of the year 2 dispatchers in there. So when we do get to hire the new ones, they are going to require some extra training. The next 7 lines you'll see are all level funded. We think that the amount of money that's in there, we can effectively do our jobs from there. There's a telecommunications line of a 15.3% increase, or $519. And that was an increase as a result of the vendor increasing our operating costs. Equipment and maintenance, currently that is underspent right now, but that is going to be, we're going to have a bill come in there from a change of radio maintenance repair that we had an agreement with, so they're coming in to do some work for us. Next year, that line should be pretty much fully spent with the amount of money that's there, so level funding should be without a problem.
Rob,
Yes.
there are 2 account lines there, equipment and equipment maintenance.
53420 is the one that I have.
Right.
53410, is that one of the ones you're talking about?
Yeah.
That was a one-time creation of that so that we could make that 3rd dispatch console. I think Don had created that line so that we could pull some of the wages from the salary line and put it in there that the board agreed to.
Well, I think some of this year's expenses are being coded to that line, because you have a year-to-date expense on this of $9,489. Should that be in the line beneath it then?
Nope. Don created that line, Sue, that $9,489. He created that line just this year for the purpose of us having that $30,000 cost for that 3rd dispatch console. We took the New Boston contract that was an unanticipated revenue that we had this
Right.
year, and then we took the remaining amount of money out of the wage line that we had anticipated as a result of Lieutenant Pouliot's
Right.
retirement.
Okay, I'll discuss it with him then. That should be under unanticipated.
That does, yeah, because you haven't even budgeted anything on
Right.
the line, and you spend
Exactly.
it out of the line, it's not.
And the
right.
board had authorized the use of the money for that console.
So when you
You're right.
created the line, you should have put money in it.
Yes. I'll take care of that.
Okay, thank you. Tower electricity, a $254 increase. Those rates were set through town hall, and propane and facility repairs were level funded. And that evens out our total budget for communications, and the price difference on that was $92,683, or an 11.38 increase in that particular communications budget line. Any questions on that before I move to operations?
That was offset by revenues, some of that was offset by revenues of how much?
That's correct. So the operations line was a pretty significant decrease for us in the manner of $122,409, or just about a 3% decrease overall. And most of those decreases were as a result in the regular wage line. You'll see a 3.4% decrease, or $71,761. Those decreases come from a retirement of Lieutenant Pouliot. His salary range was on the higher end, as well as removing that records clerk out of the operations line and transitioning over to the communications line. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay. So, as with the other communications line, the wages, that covers holiday pay, it covers training, it covers cost of coverage, it covers our crossing guards are out of there, our FTO pay, our stipends are in there. And, you know, I think that $71,761 decrease, I think is gonna be, we're gonna be all set with that. Overtime, I know, Peter, your head's probably gonna spin a little bit, but I'm actually increasing that wage line by 12.75% increase. Now, that's $17,791. We have done a pretty good job of staying within our overtime budget window, but this year, for 2017, we increased it by that much because we have an offsetting revenue for highway safety grants. Highway safety grants take effect October 1st, and they run through September 30th, so this week we're running at the end of last year's highway safety grants. Next year, we applied for, and as you know, were awarded $30,000 worth of highway safety grants. So that allows us to put extra patrols out for DWI patrols, for aggressive driving patrols, all of those things that we may not been able to without grant funding for that. So even though it's a almost an $18,000 increase, there is an offsetting revenue of that we plan on being able to get back. So, yes, sir.
Didn't we already increase that line for this year because of the 4 elections and the candidates coming into town and things like that? We had increased that line.
From 2015, it went from 129,340 to, we increased it just a little more than 10,000 for 16.
Yeah. But that was budgeting for the elections and budgeting, because we had 4 this year versus normally 1 or 2, and then we had, in the end, we had the candidates coming in, we had to have police.
Those are all, that's the special duty. When the candidates come in special duty, when the elections, if there's 2 more elections, yeah, they would cost us some.
But that's special detail?
The elections are not, elections
They're
are
not?
overtime, so
Okay.
that would be an extra cost. I
But
gotta be honest with you, I can't remember.
the details up at St. A's,
Those are all special
detailed.
duties, so those would be in the revolving fund. There
Fine.
would not be any overtime expenditures for that.
And then under the part-time wages, you have you have only spent 28.5?
Correct.
line?
Currently,
far?
yes. Well, the school just started, so our crossing guards' wages come out of the part-time line, so
Okay.
that will be dwindling before the end of this year.
In 15, you spent 52,562 of the 90,000.
On the part-time?
Yeah.
On the part-time line, yeah.
What are you anticipating that you're going to, if you only spent 52 and so far this year you spent 28, you're going to anticipate spending probably another 52 or maybe, you know.
It's a really good question.
I asked you to take another look at that.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, so moving forward, the next 3 lines are all level funded, petty cash, professional dues, and clothing and uniforms. One of the next big increase of a little more than 25% increase was employee development. We saw a sizable decrease in the request for funding on that for 16, but this year with another tuition reimbursement, we have as well as range expenditures. We're coming close to maximizing the amount spent in there currently this year, so the 5775 was as a result of, as I mentioned, 2 officers taking college courses, 1 each semester towards a bachelor's degree with a 50% reimbursement, approximately $1,000 per class. There's also still some hubbub at the Police Standards and Training Council with a lot of the trainings that they have where they're not being offered for free anymore, some of them, to send people out. We've spent more money and cost of trainings because of that in the last couple of years than we'd ever had, so. Bullet-resistant vests is a 46% decrease or a $3,000 decrease, and that is simply just as the replacement schedule that we have. There are fewer officers that are due for replacements this coming year, so, and remember, with that particular line, there is an offsetting federal replacement. It's like 50% to recoup the costs on that. Crossing guard equipment level funded travel expenses are decreased by 50% or $500. A big increase in the legal services line of 61.7% increase or $1,420. Next spring, we're going to renegotiate 2 contracts, so you never know what you're going to step into for that. So talking that over with Sue, I think that was a negligible increase that we could do with. So contracted services level funded. Pretty much this page of page 10, you'll see diversion, generator, Nespin, all level funded. IACP net went down a few bucks as a result of their tuition. Photo lab expenses, I'd like to level fund that. Same thing with crime lab and accident unit. Some of the things in the accident unit, you'll see that there's still a surplus in there. We're waiting on billing for some of the items that we had purchased over the summer. Intoxilizer supplies, small decreases on those, but $250 decrease on that. First aid decrease, almost $200. Our operating supplies and office supplies, level fund on that, we're pretty good. I think that WB Mason contract has worked out really well, at least for our agency. Postage decrease of $300. The photocopier contracts, books and publication, printing and binding, all level funded. The furniture and fixture, 25% increase or $250. This is something that we started doing with some of our offices, trying to just replace the 1980s original equipment from the building that we had in there. As we go, we're trying to pick apart the least serviceable items and replacing them. Computer and communication equipment repairs, that was an increase. We increased this last year, and I'm looking for a $960 increase in it again. And this is to satisfy the new MDTs that are in our cruisers. We had partnered with IT last year to cover half the costs of them. And with 3 new cruiser requests that you'll see in CIP, this will help us to be able to replace those all out so that all of those, what are they called, Eric? Mobile laptop, what are those? What are the ones we have? Patrol PCs. And the new units are much more ergonomically correct. They're much more functional. They're much more efficient. So that is our workstation in our cruisers for 12 hours for the officers. So advertising level funded, $150 increase I foresee with our Verizon cell phones for next year. Telephone, electricity, and propane, all level funded for next year. Water was a $25 increase from Manchester Waterworks from our assessment. All the rest of these lines you'll see on page 14 have all been level funded. The current money in there I think is sufficient. Accreditation is almost a 29% increase or $1,254. This is an increase as a result of a new software that we had implemented last year. The cost of the standard base fee is in there as well, but this is actually gearing us up towards our 2018 on-site that we're going to have for a reaccreditation. Radio repair, level funded on that. Vehicle fuel, something I don't know if I should be proud of or just lucky to have, but this is a decrease of over 30% or almost $16,500. You'll notice over the last 2 years, this is almost a 50% decrease in the amount of fuel expenditure that we've had. So we're noticing a significant return on our investment on these cruisers because they're much more fuel efficient. And I think that just the cost of fuel going down has certainly been a huge help to us. So this was one of those lines that was always plaguing our department because we use more fuel than anybody else does. So seeing it go down by that much, I'm sure doesn't make anybody too unhappy. Our maintenance charges for our vehicles and supplies are level funded. Equipment was a 4.5% increase, or $856, and that was a result of buying 10 more tasers for next year and getting into that contract with the body-worn cameras that you folks had approved a few weeks back. Facility maintenance, maintenance supplies, and HVAC are all level funded for next year, and another pretty good sizable decrease in our property insurance by 10%, was down almost $7,600. So overall, as I mentioned, that particular budget is down $122,409, or almost 3%, and overall revenue increase was about $30,000 from 16 to 17. Any questions, folks?
What's on your facility maintenance? Do you have something planned coming up, I mean, this year?
You looking at the actuals?
Yeah, the actual.
Um,
There's something coming up that you're going to
Yes.
be doing in the next 4 months? Or?
Yes, and I can't remember what it is to be.
Parking lot expansion, maybe?
No, that was
No,
CIP.
that's for next year.
CIP next year.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can look into that and get back to you. I want to say that I do, but for the life of me, I can't think of what it is.
That's not changing the room around, right? That was also another.
Yep, that's correct. That was something else. I don't have a really good answer for you on that one, Peter, but I can check it and find out for you. That was facility maintenance, correct?
Right. It's budgeted, this year, current year is 15,000, you've only used 1,363. And now you've got it budgeted again for 15,000 next year.
So Denise is watching right now, and she's going to be screaming at me tomorrow morning to tell me what I forgot to say. So
Rightfully so.
if I can get back to you, that would be great.
That's fine.
You know she's the boss down there.
Gotta have somebody to steer the ship.
That's right.
Behind every good man is a better woman.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy, brownie points there.
That's what Eliza said. Any questions? Anything else, Chief, we need to go over?
I have capital improvements. Those are very almost static with the cruisers. It's 3 cruisers again that was presented to CIP and they approved. There was I think a 2% escalator cost that was in there from last year. And the one thing, and I hope I don't eat my words, but next year's, for 2018, the plan is that we won't need as much money in CIP for cruisers because we are now going to be able to start reusing our equipment, taking from the newer vehicles and replacing them onto newer vehicles. With the changeover to the new Ford, we've had to purchase new light bars and new equipment. We should start noticing a savings as a result of being able to reuse those like we used to. So this should be the last year with cruisers being in this price range. I may come back to you and say I was wrong next year, but that's what the plan is for 2018.
How are those working out, the new SUVs? Pretty well?
Great. They do eat tires at a little bit of a faster rate because they're all-wheel drive. But considering how much fuel less they use, I think, than the Crown Vics, and they're
Room for everything in the vehicle.
there are, yeah.
Mark?
Chief, all the old gear that you're taking out of the old cruisers that we're not gonna use, are we hanging on to that, or are we selling that? Up at the White Farm.
Well, I mean, from the Crown Vics, it's almost like every agency in the world that's doing the same thing we are all trying to see who else wants them, so they don't have a bulk storage. So it's a matter of what's the easiest, most cost-efficient way we can get rid of it. So we have those cages that were in the back, you know, I mean, they're useless to
They're all
anybody.
downstairs,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, we do shop out, try to auction or whatever that we can, but for the most part, stuff is just not serviceable. On top of vehicles, we have our parking lot expansion, something that had been in CIP for a number of years. And a couple of the pictures I provide to you, most of our employees are parking out back, and they are utilizing that grass space. You know, a few years back, we had discussions with Highway about how much it would be to level that, pave it, and be able to utilize it as an employee parking area. So, 107,000 was 5 years ago, it was less, but we've added a little bit of an escalator each year to it. So I think that would be a worthwhile cause. We own that property. We could put it to use instead of cars parking in all disarray like you see.
Is your lot surveyed, chief? Do we know the bounds on that side? Any
Well,
markers?
I know when this was done, it was.
Okay.
Almost certain.
All right.
Megan would be my go-to on that. And the last thing for next year was something that got expedited on the matrix, was the generator for the summit. I don't think it's going to be quite 25,000, but CIP was interested in making sure for it to be on that matrix list, that we were able to get it there, so we might notice some cost savings. But that generator is well over 20 years old, and I think for the amount of responsibility that it has and the need for it to be upkept, I think that this is something that needs to be done for next year.
Any grants available for this? I know we got our generator here through a grant.
That'd be through an EMPG grant,
Hmm.
and nothing to be done. I don't know if it's a competitive grant, it's not a sure thing, but it follows into the grant specs.
What's the deadline for that, chief?
It's open until funding is spent. So
Just
every.
go for it. No.
I think the federal fiscal year runs to the end of September, then it runs to the duration of the budget.
Probably need a motion to authorize apply for the grant.
So there's grant monies available?
I don't know what's available right now, but it falls into the realm of that grant. They do have a new budget season
So we used here.
coming open in October.
That's a grant we got here
Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
generator.
Well, if it's available.
Certainly make a motion to authorize to move forward with pursuing any grant monies that might be available.
I'll second that for you.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Go get 'em, chief.
That's all I have, folks. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd be
Nice
happy to
job.
try to.
Go around. Alan, any questions?
I'm good, nice job.
David?
No, sir.
Anytime we have a
Mark?
decrease, it's all
Good
good.
job, chief.
Thank you very much.
Anytime we decrease, it's all good, right?
All good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, chief,
Thanks, chief.
so you guys can have a big increase, it kills us.
Okay, we did,
We're at selectmen discussion.
yep. Library trustees, anybody go to that meeting?
Summaries in your packet anyway.
Yeah, summaries in the packet. Parks and Rec Commission?
Yep, summaries in the packet.
Okay. Sewer Commission, David, did you need to bring anything up on that, the meeting?
They only discuss changes in the budget, which we've heard about this evening.
Okay. Planning Board?
Yes. Planning Board had discussions last week on potential zoning changes for the March ballot. No decisions were made. This discussion.
And was the CIP was presented the week before?
It was, yeah, prior to this.
Yeah. Anybody got anything else? Under new business, nothing was submitted. Under old business, I would just like to get, that's on the matrix, but we took a vote on the new pay matrix, but we didn't come out of non-public and took a vote. So I think we need to do that in public, that we adopted a new pay.
Yeah, I
matrix.
have that scheduled for discussion in non-public.
So you don't want to do it,
Well, I think the vote to, if the intent was to unseal that vote and make it public, is that the intent?
oh, the
To
intent.
unseal the minutes?
Well, we've done in the past, we don't go into any detail, we just say we come out of, adopted a pay matrix. We wouldn't have discussed it if, because it was personnel, individual personnel,
Right.
so we didn't discuss it in public, we did that in non-public. So we should have come out of non-public and taken a vote saying we adopted the new pay matrix.
I guess, I'm just asking process-wise, did you want to take a new vote, or did you want to unseal the motion and the vote that was taken in non-public?
How you're supposed to do it.
Well, I think if you want to take a new vote, you'd have to do a reconsideration.
If you want to take a new vote, somebody on the prevailing
Prevailing side.
side would have to agree to revisit it.
Right.
But I'm not looking to take a new vote, I'm looking to ratify the vote we took in public.
So you're looking to unseal the minutes
And just make them public.
related to that motion? Make it part of the public record?
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be done in
If we're going to
public.
have a discussion on something that was non-public, we should
Right, I'm not
unseal.
disagreeing with that, okay. But, okay.
We need a motion to unseal it.
The motion?
Is that what we're looking for?
Make the motion that was taken in non-public part of the public record?
There's a motion to seal the minutes.
Right, so now you have to
Yeah,
take a motion to unseal it.
Motion.
That requires a two-thirds approval.
I'll make a motion to unseal it.
I'll second it. I mean, it should have been done in public, so I'll second it for discussion. It should have been, that, we do that on other personnel matters. We come out of, we hire
Come on,
and
non-public.
Yep.
come out of non-public and take a vote. That's the
Right.
only thing I just want to do is come out of non-public and take a vote. Just for transparency, that we didn't do something behind closed doors.
Going to unseal the vote taken on August 29th.
Yeah, I don't anticipate any change. I just wanted it done to be transparent.
And that motion, I do have that, so you can see what it was, back at tab 9.
First page on tab 9. So once we have a vote to unseal, then we can read that paragraph.
Right. Into the
The
record.
chair can.
Which one, which I thought about, the one that's,
At the bottom.
yep, right here, right here, right here. Oops,
Second paragraph.
this one.
Yes.
Do you have to read the whole thing, or just the
Just the motion.
motion?
First, you have to take the motion to unseal it.
Right.
Then we can cut and paste this into the public record, yeah. You can read it, and we can put it in the public record.
Are we going, okay. I guess my
I made
question.
a motion to unseal it.
Right.
Seal
And we have a
just-
second.
Just
I
the
seconded
motion.
it. Just the motion.
Just the motion and the
Not
vote,
the
yeah.
dis- Yeah, and not the discussion, just the motion. So it comes
Show
out.
the black italic.
You understand?
Yeah, just unsealing it, yep.
Right.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to unseal it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did.
Okay.
Aye. Who opposed? Opposed? Abstained?
No,
Okay.
I think it's 5-0, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Anticipating
Okay,
opposition.
so now, Mark, do you want to make the motion, or somebody want to make the motion?
No, you're just going to read it into the record. You don't
Okay.
have to make a motion. Read the motion
You want me
and
to
then
mo-
vote.
Vice Chairman Lemay moves, seconded by Brown, to accept the MRI classification plan and pay scales as presented for full-time employees, the proposed pay scale for crossing guards as a separate part-time matrix, keep seasonal employee wages on a marked basis, implement placement on the scale, ensuring a 2% minimum increase except for those who are maxed out as of 2/1/17.
7/1. 7/1.
7/1/17, and authorize the release of the final report.
And that passed.
320.
And that passed 3-2-0. That way it's up.
Okay.
Question, can I just ask one question on it? Do we know what the actual cost was? Do we ever actually get that actual cost?
Yeah.
We had it.
It was in that packet on 8/29.
And what,
Okay, so we have a point. Go
Point
ahead.
of order, should the public know who was voting for and against?
Yes, that wasn't listed here. The nay votes, I believe, were Chairman Georgianis and Selectman Brown.
Right.
And last week, after non-public, we should have made a motion that we didn't make. And that was to authorize the fire chief to make a conditional offer of employment to a part-time call EMT. So we didn't make that motion.
Somebody want to make,
I make the motion that you just read.
Second.
seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none? That's 4-0, because Collins wasn't here.
Oh, okay. 401 then?
Yes. Wouldn't it be?
Because you weren't in non-public last week when that came up.
So
Okay,
it would be 401. Okay, do we have non-public for this evening?
we do.
Okay, motion?
Non-publics for RSA 91-A:3, under A, compensation, and B, hiring.
second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That'll,
That's a roll call.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 That'll conclude tonight's public portion of the meeting. We'll be going into non-public. Thank you for watching.